Good afternoon. Welcome into Sports Talk at the Stadium from Clemson's Death Valley, where this afternoon the Tigers blew out North Carolina State 59-35 in their ACC opener. You might say, Corn, 59-35, not exactly a blowout. Oh, yes, it was. This game was over and over fast. 28-0. The Tigers scored on their first four possessions. They scored on six of their first seven possessions, touchdowns in all those scoring drives, and they were up 45-7 at halftime. NC State got fat against the Clemson second and third teamers and walk-ons and everybody else who wanted to play on defense for Clemson, and then later on offense as Dabo Swinney went deep into his roster as this game moved on. So, yes, indeed, it was a total Clemson domination and a blowout this afternoon. A win number 800 for the Tigers all time in their football history, making them just the 14th program in college football history to reach the 800 win mark. So Clemson, coming off that performance against Appalachian State 2 weeks ago, puts this game on top of that. And certainly it sends out a statement to the rest of the ACC and perhaps the rest of the country, and most importantly to their fans. Their offense is back. Man, they look good today. Klubnik came out on fire. He broke off a long touchdown run on their first possession. He hit 8 of his first 9 passes. He threw the ball right on the money. He had a couple of long touchdown passes. He would have had another long gain to Antonio Williams, had Williams not dropped the football, but then he followed up with a 40-yard pass right after that. He was really on his game. He looked very comfortable. He looked smooth. He looked in command. You would say maybe his best performance against a quality opponent since that ACC championship game against North Carolina. So that's a huge bright spot for Clemson this afternoon. Maffa ran just a few times, only 7 carries, but he had 107 yards. The average was off the charts, but he looked very strong. The Clemson offensive line did a very good job this afternoon against that NC State defense. The Tigers had 534 total yards, but again, they called the dogs off on the Wolfpack in the second half. They could have really rolled it up a whole bunch more. 254 of that was through the air. NC State finished with 440 yards, but that's a misleading stat because most of that came in the second half when the game was well decided, and many of the Clemson fans had hit the tailgates once again. Big plays. Clemson fans have been wanting the Garrett Riley offense to show quick strikes and big plays, just like against Appalachian State, but you kind of wrote that off because of the opponent today. More of the same. The Tigers had 14 big plays, 6 in the passing game, including completions of 40, 31, 25, and 25 yards, and then 8 on the ground, including runs of 55, 38, and 31 yards. So they did it quickly, and they did it deep down the field. And the defense, don't be fooled again by the final score. The defense held up more of its side of things than the score would indicate. I mean, again, the score at halftime was 45-7. So against mostly the first team defense, NC State could do nothing. Now they were playing with their backup quarterback as Grayson McCall was out, but the freshman Bailey looked pretty good for NC State when he had an opportunity to do something, but they just could not stop Clemson's offense today. Clemson's offense came out on fire, and they never cooled off until they finally took out the top guys when the game was put away. So if you're a Clemson fan, you walk out of here feeling really, really good about things because the offense looks great. The defense looks great. Didn't need much from the special teams, but they did fine. And you look around you, you've got Stanford coming in next Saturday night, undefeated after winning last night at Syracuse, but still maybe a dangerous team, but a team you should handle. And then down to Florida State, which looks very vulnerable. I mean, the entire ACC in this regular season, from a Clemson standpoint, looks up for grabs now. You know, people had written the Tigers off totally after that loss to Georgia in the opening game. Well, they seem to have regained some of their mojo and some of their confidence, and they showed it here today in front of a packed house at Death Valley. So dominating win for Clemson, and the Tigers improved to 2-1 on the season, 1-0 in the ACC. As I mentioned, they'll be home next Saturday night to take on Stanford with a 7 o'clock kickoff. Be sure to check out the post game here on our website, sportstalksc.com, and we'll have coverage of the Dabo Swinney conference call for you on Sunday night. And, of course, talk about this Tiger win with you on Monday night on Sports Talk. Thanks for checking us out as we're brought to you by the South Carolina Beef Council from right here in Death Valley.